And she said, well, aren't you the world's largest retailer?
Oh, no.
People want to be entertained more than they want to be informed. You really have to buy into that. I'm counting the laughs. You got to have 12 laughs to win this contest.
It changes humor from a personality trait to a skill. Memorize 3 jokes. Well, I can do that.
Unless you are into continuous improvement, which is Kaizen, you're going to be into Kaizen or you're going to be into entropy. Oh, stand up, speak up, shut up, sit down. That's it. Always check your zipper before you start speaking, because if everybody is looking low, there's a zipper problem.
Welcome to Speak Arizona, the podcast for professionals ready to elevate their communication and leadership skills. Whether you're speaking to a crowd or leading a team, you'll get practical tips, expert insights, and inspiring stories. Join us as we dive into the craft of powerful communication and authentic leadership. Speak Arizona is powered by District 3 Toastmasters. Subscribe and take the next step to becoming the speaker and leader you want to be. Welcome to Speak Arizona, a podcast dedicated to empowering you to find your voice. Hi, I'm your host, Rupesh Parbhoo. I help technical experts upgrade from being the smartest person in the room to the most influential, one conversation at a time. Some people bring humor to a room, others bring wisdom. Paul Pastore, you bring both. Paul has been a part of Dobson Ranch Toastmasters since 2003, and over the years has become one of the club's most consistently funny speakers and mentors. He is someone who cares deeply about people, about the club, and about doing things right. In today's conversation, we'll talk about how to build the skill of humor, why mentorship is important, and one disagreement that Paul and I had that taught me a lot about leadership and change, and we'll see if he learned anything. This conversation is about laughter, loyalty, and what it means to care. Paul, welcome to Speak Arizona.
Thank you.
I am very excited to have you. The whole team was excited to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. Well, I grew up in Rhode Island. I went to Catholic school, Catholic high school, graduated from the University of Connecticut, moved out to California, got a job, transferred to Arizona in 1976, got into real estate in 1977, initially joined Toastmasters in 1977, then took a hiatus, and here I am.
Wow. So next year you'll come up on your, 50th-ish anniversary?
Something like that. I'm one of the few people that actually had Ralph Schmedley, who started Toastmasters, in my club. I knew him personally. I was a little older than him, but he was a nice young man.
Wow. Impressive.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see if you'd buy that.
We're already starting with the jokes. Wait, yeah, Toastmasters is 100 years old. The math doesn't match.
Gotcha.
See what I'm talking about? Paul, I warned you I was going to start with this, so tell me a joke. Tell our listeners a joke.
Tell your listeners a joke. Well, this is something I used actually last week in my table topics. Next door to me, there is a blonde lady, and a few days ago, she started yelling, and Lisa, my partner, and I ran over to her house, and she had accidentally cut the tail off with the weed whacker of her cat. She was hysterical. She said, "Could you give me a ride?" I said, "Sure." We got in the car, and I said, "Where do you want to go?" She said, "I need to go to Walmart." So we went to Walmart. She hopped out of the car, went to the head of the line customer service, and she told the guy she accidentally cut the tail off of her cat. And he said, "Why did you come to Walmart?" And she said, "Well, aren't you the world's largest retailer?"
Oh, no.
Da-da-da-da.
Paul, where do you get these jokes from?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I saw this. on YouTube, on a YouTube reel short, and I thought it was very funny. Lisa thought it was a groaner, but here we are.
Here we are. And I think
Right.
it landed somewhere in between. And I think starting with that joke and the fact that you heard it on YouTube leads me sort of to my first lesson that I learned from you about humor, which was humor is a skill. And so it's something that can be practiced.
Yes.
So you yourself don't necessarily need to come up with the jokes, but finding something online or in your world and repeating it intentionally to tell the story and to be funny with emotions and pauses, that's humor. And that's something I learned from you over the last few weeks. So, Paul, like I said, you are funny.
Now, let me mention one thing here, not to interrupt you.
Always.
We have a big Toastmaster club, and I got best table topic person. So it might have been a groaner, but in a democracy, more people liked that joke than didn't.
Yes, you did win best table topics on Friday. But how did you build your humor or your repertoire? Because, yeah, that was a prepared joke, but I've seen you extemporaneously just crack us all up. So tell me more.
Well, I consider myself to be funny and enjoy humor ever since I was a little kid. My mother was hilarious. She had a tremendous sense of humor, and part of it could be hereditary. And in Toastmasters, I've said a million times, people want to be entertained more than they want to be informed. You really have to buy into that, because even with the speech contest going on now, Matthew, who was here a little bit ago, in his speech, he is building some humor in there. If you watch the international finals, even the guy Muhammad who lights the cigarettes, he probably had at least a dozen laughs, big laughs, in that international winning speech.
It's so true. Holding people's attention with humor, with something that's surprising, or whatever the technique you're using is so important, especially with attention spans just continuously shrinking.
Right.
And I told you, Paul, one of the things I told you was, I don't think I'm funny. I don't think I'm a naturally funny speaker.
You are.
So what advice would you give to someone who feels that way?
Well, first of all, I've had people come up to me. Christine McMurdy, I remember years ago, she came up to me, she goes, I can't tell a joke, right? And I think that's the first thing to do, is to learn to tell a joke. Lisa, my partner, didn't think she was funny, and I said, Lisa, I want you to memorize 3 jokes. So if I give you that look, I want you to be able to tell one of the jokes. And I told Christy the same thing. I said, it's not hard. You are an attorney. You went to law school. You memorized a lot of stuff. You have to get over that mindset that you're not funny. Look in the mirror. You know, you don't think you're funny? Look in the mirror, right? So anyway, Christy learned, as Lisa learned, as everybody needs to learn, to tell a joke. You hear that funny joke, or you think it's funny on a reel on Facebook, write it down. A little 3x5 card. Somehow put it on your phone. Have a couple jokes ready. And tell a story. Everything in Toastmasters, in my opinion, is stories. Have some funny stories. You can't remember funny stories about yourself, then ask your partner or ask a friend, hey, what's the funniest story I've ever told you? And just tell a funny story. Get in a humorous speech contest. You know, it's amazing. It just takes off.
I think what I appreciated about our conversation, which we had offline, when I was saying, I don't think I'm funny, it changes humor from a personality trait to a skill. Memorize 3 jokes. Well, I can do that.
Yeah.
Ask your friends, when was the last time you were funny? I can do that.
Right.
Instead of being like, I am funny or I am not funny,
Right.
I am building the skill of humor in my repertoire of skills. And I love that, Pete. That's why I wanted to bring you on that podcast. I love that mindset shift that you brought for me.
It's just like Toastmasters. How many people come to Toastmasters and they think, I can't speak in public. I've always been a shy person. It's a skill. You practice that skill, and a subset of that skill is humor.
Paul, one thing I really admire about your speeches is this effortlessness in your humor. When you incorporate those things in your speech, is it really intentional? Is it as off the cuff as it seems like to me? Like, what are your tricks to get that humor in?
The tricks to get the humor in?
Yeah, or what's your process for thinking through, like, I'm going to make a joke here and
So the last speech I gave, it was about 5 to 7 minute speech about selling, and I called it sane selling, and I used the acronym. But I said in there to have a system for selling, but I also said have a system for speaking. And my system is when I give a speech, I'll start the next day on the next speech. And my expectation is it'll be complete before Brian, the club scheduler, schedules it. So it's going to be done. So the speech I gave a week ago or so, I hadn't spoken for 6 months. So I had that speech complete 6 months ago. So, and in that speech, which I practiced a lot, I go for a walk in the morning, I just practice the speech, put a timer on, I know exactly about where it's coming in, and I will ask my evaluator to count the laughs. I want to know big laughs, medium laughs, and small laughs, but I want to know how many laughs are in there. That's what I do.
Yeah, I like that turning into a process so that you're really prepared and not doing it on the way to the club meeting.
Oh, no.
One last question on humor. How do you balance, you mentioned you use humor to keep the audience engaged and listening so that then you can move to the education parts of your speech. How do you balance keeping the humor effective and not distracting from the main message of your speech? Do you ever worry that, oh, this is too funny or this is too distracting or this is losing my main message?
Well, I don't think anything's too funny. But the best kind of humor is self-deprecatory humor. If I were to joke about myself, or I'm Italian, the name Pastore is Italian, I can joke about Italian things, right? But if you, who are not Italian, makes an Italian joke, I mean, I may let the air out of your tires, right? You may find your pet killed,
Oh.
Or the tail cut off. How about that?
The tail cut off. Yeah.
Marie can tell French jokes, right? But I can't tell French jokes. So self-deprecatory stories. And a little bit, you have to realize where people are coming from. Some people in our club I can tease. I can tease Terry Lee. He thinks it's funny. I think it's funny, and everybody likes to tease him. And when people tease me, everybody thinks that's funny,
True.
We're getting even with them.
Yeah, and I think that lends itself to knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Knowing who you're talking to, knowing yourself, and bringing humor into those conversations.
And what's not funny, there's a gal in our club who I helped a little bit with her contest speech, and she changed a few parts in it. And in the end, at the area contest, she used the word morgue. And I said to her later, I said, in my opinion, you have a very good speech, but I don't think that morgue is a funny concept. I don't think it's a funny speech. And in my opinion, you should change that. Mm-hmm. So what's funny, what's not funny, you can, in our club, they tape the speeches, and you can count the laughs, have your evaluator count the laughs, and what you consider funny. Somebody once said to me, you know what, if you tell a joke and nobody laughs, it's not funny. Imagine that. And there's another guy, I'll just tell you this, when I was first in Toastmasters, there was a seasoned Toastmaster, had a DTM, and people would say to him, what's the greatest lesson you've learned in Toastmasters? And he goes, the greatest thing Toastmasters has done for me is it has given me the confidence to tell bad jokes in public.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And learning humor is it like I said, it that mindset reframe. It's a skill. And I liked what you mentioned earlier about the data and analytics piece of it,
Right.
because sometimes when you're thinking about speeches, you're thinking about emotions and things. How do you calculate? But you can count how many times people laughed and if it was a big laugh or a little laugh. And I like that insight into thinking through speeches in a little bit of an analytical way.
True story. There's a professional speaker in Scottsdale. His name is Joel Weldon. Joel used to be in Toastmasters in 1972. And I was for a while in his club that he's mentoring called Chats. And Sir Bon has been in this club. And I was at an area contest, speaking in the area contest, and I'm looking at Joel, and he's making notations on a piece of paper. And I said, well, Joel, what are you doing? He goes, I'm counting the laughs. You got to have 12 laughs to win this contest. So it's amazing how the little tidbits you can learn from different people.
That's so great. Shifting gears, I want to change directions a little bit. You've been a part of Toastmasters since 1977.
Okay.
Wait, was that real or a
Initially
joke?
joined.
Initially joined. And
Actually, initially joined in 1976.
so we're at
Imagine,
50
before you were
years.
born, right?
Before I was born.
Before Marie was born.
Yeah. So we're at 50 years this year.
Yeah.
What has kept you coming back?
What's kept me coming back? It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just a lot of fun. The people, people are just amazing. I brought Lisa there, and initially she wasn't interested in the public speaking piece of it, but she liked the people, and then she got involved, and she is very close to getting her DTM. So, kudos to Lisa.
Yes, it is a lot of fun. I mean, and this is part of that organization, and I'm having
Right.
a ton of fun. So
Yeah.
I love it. And one thing I notice about you is after every meeting, and I'm one of the club officers, after every meeting, you'll come to me or one of the club officers and give us some feedback every time. Why do you do that? Why do you take the time and your energy to come give us that feedback?
Let me preface that. I'm going to give you a secret,
Okay.
but you didn't even know I do this. After every meeting, I go up to every speaker and say, nice job. I go up to the evaluators and I say, nice job. If you won in table topics, I'll go up to you, nice job. At a area, division, district contest, I will try to make my way up to the speakers and say, nice work. You'd be surprised how many people don't do that, right? So it's incumbent upon you to help people, encourage people. I'll go up to the new people and I'll say, do you know what Ford stands for? And they go, no, what's Ford stand for? I said, your first speech is your icebreaker. 4 to 6 minutes. You're going to talk about your family, your occupation, your recreation, your dreams. Start that now. Get ready. It's going to be coming before you know it. So, and the club part of it is, I've been in the club a long time. The initial club that I was in had 4 speakers. We were the Dobson Ranch of the day. Tempe Toastmasters. We had over 50 members. We met at Smitty's, Southern and Mill, Tuesdays, 6:15 in the morning. We were out of there by 8, but we had four speakers. Table topics was 1 minute, right? Our club is, like a minute and a half. The evaluations were 2 minutes. Our club, you can go 3 minutes. So there is a way to be more efficient. I've experienced that before, and I'll just pass that on to you. And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay.
I appreciate what you said earlier about going to each of a new member, a speaker, the evaluator, the winners, and having something that you're going to say. Because I think another thing that Toastmasters is great for is building your networking skills. And what you've just told me is, I put a little mental note in for myself is in networking, knowing what you're going to say. For example, like this is just your thing. When you see a new member, oh, what do I say to this new member? Like I want to introduce myself and maybe I'm shy, but you've got your process. You see a new member, you
Right.
talk about their icebreaker, which is meaningful for them. And you're creating this long legacy of how we do things at Dobson Ranch, for example. And that is giving me ideas about networking is like, I see people giving speeches and public speaking, and I'm always somewhat shy to interact.
You want to be funnier?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you're going to learn to tell jokes, right?
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you 2 things you better not do.
Okay.
Because I'll come up to you later, and
I know
will
you will.
shake you good.
I know you
I'll
will.
shake you good. Don't you ever read a joke. Do you see people coming up and reading on their phones a joke? Don't do it. That's number 1. And number 2, don't tell a long joke. You mentioned it. People have a short attention span. They are on their phones. They're thinking of other things. Don't you dare tell a long joke. The cat joke, I bet that was 30, 45 seconds, right? No long jokes, and don't read the joke. I digress.
You digress, but that's great advice. But back to giving back.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about the things you do after the meetings. You go shake everyone's hand, tell them what a great job, which now that you tell me that, I'm like, oh yeah, I have noticed that. But why? Why do you care so much? Why do you give you give me so much advice on how to make our club better?
Well, because you need so much work. That's why. See? No, just kidding. You're doing a great job. You and Max do a great job as a leader. Just teasing you. I just think that I just give you an idea. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay. But the club, it's almost like entropy. You know, the concept of entropy is everything is breaking down. Yes. So unless you are into continuous improvement, which is Kaizen, you're going to be into Kaizen or you're going to be into entropy. That's your choice.
You just blew my mind. That is so true. Everything, especially in these nonprofits, but even at work, everything is constantly changing, evolving. Standards are constantly having to be set and reset and reset. And if you get a little, oh my gosh. So if you don't do the continuous improvement, your entropy, you're just increasing the disorder.
Your choice.
That's deep. I like it. And speaking of entropy, that kind of leads me to my next question, which is you've been in Toastmasters 50 years, you've been Dobson Ranch 20 plus years. What's something that newer members misunderstand about that long-term commitment? Because Toastmasters has a problem. Basically, people join for 6 months. A majority of people join for 6 months, and then they're gone and never come back. And the rare few make it, as long as I have, which is 6-7 years. And, you're a rare unicorn in this situation of almost 50 years or 50 plus years. So tell me more about that long-term commitment.
Well, I think it starts with a goal. I think everybody needs to have a goal in Toastmasters. And initially, your goal will be to complete a path, because it's pathways now. When I joined Toastmasters, there was the basic manual, had 10 speeches. That should be your goal, to complete the basic manual, to get in a speech contest. Matthew just was here, and kudos to him. He's in, 5 clubs? He got in a speech contest, and he, in my opinion, is going to win the division speech contest, and he's going to do really well, in my opinion, at the district speech contest. So getting in speech contests, I've said before, Proverbs basically says iron sharpens iron, 27:7, I think it is. Iron sharpens iron. So you get into a speech contest, it'll help. I don't know if that answered your question, but...
No, it did. I think you mentioned having goals. and
having goals. That's right.
Yeah.
And you know what everybody's goal should be? You know what your goal should be? You know
Tell
what Marie's
me.
goal should be? To get a DTM, right? Did you get a PhD?
No.
I didn't get a PhD.
No.
But we graduated college, right?
Yeah.
But you can get a PhD in public speaking. It's called a DTM. And in my opinion, like in the real estate business, if you're in the real estate business for 40 years, you get to be a realtor emeritus like me.
Ooh.
See the pin? And I'm teaching a little class May 1st, just an hour class. And I'm going to tell people, set a goal, get some designations, CRS designations, get a realtor emeritus designation. Just set that as a long-term goal. Some people call it a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. Some people call it a WIG, wildly important goal. In Toastmasters, you should have a big goal. It's going to take you a while to complete. Initially, your goal is to give your icebreaker. Then it's to complete a path. And then it's to get a DTM, right? In my opinion, set big goals.
I love it. And I want to talk about you going back to being a long-term member, always giving me advice and guidance. One thing that initially when you used to give me advice, I felt very overwhelmed because they were all really good ideas until I realized, well, you're giving me this every week and you're giving me it to kind of write down, let it digest, percolate, and then if something comes up of it, go do it. But if something doesn't, no harm. And so initially when you used to give me feedback, I'd be very overwhelmed. But now I kind of understand, like, this is just getting consistent feedback is a gift and you're always learning.
Well, I've learned stuff from you because being an old person, I like to think that I'm on the cutting edge, but not the bleeding edge of technology. But I like the evaluation forms and I like the written voting forms. And then you got the QR code thing going. And congratulations to you because now I bring my phone in and I'm voting using the QR code. So you have taught me a lot too.
Oh, I appreciate that. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about on this podcast. So I like creating change. And some people, for the better, not just change for the sake of change. I saw an opportunity to improve, which was taking we have 50 plus members in our club. And every meeting we vote on four different awards.
Right.
And so 50 times 4, someone has to go around and collect all of these things.
Right.
And in the middle of the meeting, there's chaos trying to get those votes all within about a 10, 15-minute period. And so knowing we've got technology and phones and different things, I was like, why don't we try this out? And it's I don't want to say disagreement, but I don't know, what would you call it?
What's the disagreement?
Between you and I, or between...
No, we don't have any disagreements.
No, we didn't have a disagreement.
We don't have any disagreements.
What was it, Paul?
I have a point of view. You may have a point of view. And sometimes you may come around to my point of view. And guess what? I'm coming around to your point of view on those QR codes.
I like that. A perspective difference.
Right.
Not a disagreement. Because it really wasn't. Because you have always been supportive of everything that I've done. But it was a discomfort when we started getting into, hey, let's use the cell phones. Because as we know, and I agree with this wholeheartedly, cell phones are a total distraction. You have people in person speaking, sometimes doing the scariest thing that they'll do for themselves that week or that month or that year is getting up on stage, and everyone has their phones, and then I'm the new guy coming, hey, let's do digital voting. Everyone needs a device in their hands, which is already so distracting. Right. So I fully understood that perspective, and I was like, there's a better way. And there was a lot of different, another member in our club came to me also separately and was like, look, I am a public speaker. I'm a paid public speaker. I deal with cell phones every day. And so also to not incorporate this technology was a little, in his mind, also not serving the members, because if you really want to be a public speaker, you're going to have to deal with some of these distractions. So how do you view change is my question. When change makes you uncomfortable, how do you react? What do you think about?
Well, let's take the QR codes to you, or kudos to you, because for a while there we had the option of doing either. We could do the paper ballots or we could do the QR codes. And for a while I continued to use the paper ballots, but then I brought my phone in, and once you try the technology, it's cool, and I'm not gonna arm wrestle somebody over a QR code.
Yeah, we could.
I'd win.
You probably would. What? Thinking back on that, honestly, I love that we're having this conversation. Thinking back on that time, what is something that you wish I would have done differently in instituting that change?
Nothing. No,
Paul.
No. I think you did it well. I just think people come into our club. The guy that was a guest from Boston came into our club, and he looked around, and there's a couple things that he mentioned. I don't know if he mentioned voting on the QR code specifically, but we have that big stoplight in the back there.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a lot of noisemakers. And there are some clubs that don't use the noisemakers for the Oz because they feel, I have a quick story for you.
Yeah.
They feel they're going to hurt the feelings of the new people. When I was transferred into Arizona, one of the first things I did is I saw an ad in the paper for Tempe Toastmasters guest welcome. So I went to the meeting, and they allowed me to participate in table topics, and I heard a lot of noise, right? And then at the end of the meeting, I got a little award called the Wizard of Oz, right?
Oh.
Oh, yeah. And everybody's laughing, because I had about a dozen Oz in my table topics. And I go, oh, funny. You like funny? I like funny. So I'm going to join, and I'm going to get rid of the Oz, which I did, but I specifically joined Toastmasters. One of the big reasons is because I had some word whiskers, some Oz that I wanted to get rid of. And if they didn't have the noisemakers and they didn't have the goofy little award, I don't know if I would have joined.
You gotta love that Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that, and I kind of love it.
Yeah.
And I so agree. The lesson I learned from that change management is initially there were a lot of members who were uncomfortable with QR codes because, again, we've got these people on stage speaking, and we really
Right.
want to honor that. And cell phones are very distracting and all the things with cell phones, and I agree. And my lesson learned from that, it was and just like you said with the Wizard of Oz, I took that feedback personally. Like, it bothered me a lot. I was like, oh, I mean, can't they see the improvement, blah, blah, blah. And just like with the noisemakers, if someone says, we throw a marble in a jar and make a lot of
Right.
noise to make them aware, all that is a noise in a jar. You take that how you want. And I think the lesson I learned was two things. One, don't take it personally. It's feedback. You're learning. And it takes time. If the QR codes was really bad and it didn't work, it would have continuously not worked and people would have continuously not liked it. But over time, as people got used to bringing their cell phones in more, using it, seeing the benefits, it started to get easier and easier. So the second lesson learned for me was the change is not instant, and it takes time for things to be adopted. So don't expect overnight, if you've made a change, for it to all work out. Pay attention if people hate it. Well, that's something you need to know. But it doesn't happen overnight, and don't take those noisemakers, that feedback, personally. Ooh, I love it.
You know what else is a little peccadillo on my part?
Yeah.
The use of notes. In your icebreaker, I usually say to people, FORD. That's it. You don't need notes. Remember your family. You know what you do for a living, right? You know what you do for fun, right? So you don't need notes. And when I joined Toastmasters, I want to say within the first few speeches, because I had that mindset, you need notes. What about if I forget my place? You could have it in your jacket pocket. You could have the 3x5 cards in your pants. But as soon as you give your first speech with no notes, now you can fly. And I don't think you need notes. It's just something. I don't think I'm funny. We'll tell some jokes and funny stories. Now you're funny. I can't speak. Well, you give your icebreaker. Now you can speak. I could never speak without notes. Oh, yes, you can. And there's two people, not going to name names, but at our club last week, the guy gave a fantastic speech, and he had extensive notes, which diminished the sincerity of the speech. And then somebody else, it was his fourth speech. Now, I have to excuse him because he's an accountant, and accountants like notes, right? But what do you need notes for? Get rid of the notes. Small point, but...
No, I think that's really helpful. And I agree. I think people use these crutches. Like, there's this perfectionism. I need to say this sentence exactly this way. And what they're missing out, not only on the audience feeling engaged because they can't see their eyes and they're not looking out, but they're also missing cues because maybe the audience is giving some information that they can adjust, or a joke is funny or isn't funny or whatever. And And so I agree with you. I think people shouldn't use notes. However, I'm a little nicer, and I like that particular individual. I said, next time, translate your word for word speech into note cards. So take that transition step. And then next time, have the note cards, but have it in your pocket and don't use it. And then next time, don't, but I agree with you. I think people get really stuck in their crutches, and
they get stuck on the words.
Yeah.
Speaking is not about words. It's about stories. So tell a story. Tell a few stories. And there's one point, there's a few stories, boom, you're done. Speak up. How does it? Oh, stand up, speak up, shut up, sit down. That's it.
I mean, it can't get any more simple than that. I love it. Paul, I want to transition to our rapid fire questions. But before I do, anything else on humor, mentorship, longevity in Toastmasters, anything we discussed, any other tips for speakers?
No.
Okay, let's do it. Paul, what book, podcast, or article has inspired you recently?
Has inspired me recently?
Yeah.
When I go for a walk in the morning, I like listening to podcasts and then some music. Patrick Bet-David, they call him PBD. Did we talk about that?
We haven't, but I know of the guy. Yep.
Wow, just amazing guy. Iranian. Then he came over to this country, got into the service, started selling insurance, built an insurance agency, sold it for $1 bazillion. And I just really like that guy.
Yes.
So,
and he's got a great book. I read his book probably a year ago now, but it starts or ends with like 15 reflection questions.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really good. I don't remember them now, but great suggestion.
So that's and I love to read. So, I mean, I'm constantly reading stuff. So
nice. We talked a little bit about speakers using notes, but what's your biggest public speaking pet peeve, or one thing you wish speakers would stop doing?
One thing I would wish speakers would stop doing, well, I think you referred to it a little bit, and that's to talk about yourself too much. Sometimes you'll hear a speaker, and there's a balance between the word I, and you. So I remember way back when I first joined Dobson Ranch Toastmasters, a very gifted speaker talked about the fuel efficiency of boats. Honest to God.
Okay.
And not knowing how touchy-feely this club was, I gave him a pretty strong evaluation for him, which is who gives a flying crap about the fuel efficiency of boats. Tell us something that we can take with us, right? And, he took it personally, and I learned a valuable lesson that sometimes people, you can't treat everybody the same. Some people can take a shot, take a licking and keep on ticking, right? Like Timex watches. And some people, you have to be very soft and fuzzy with these people. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
it does. Yeah. You said basically when you're giving a speech, give something the audience is going to be engaged and interested, which is honestly connects to where we started with humor.
Yeah.
Paul, what's your go-to way to collaborate? You've been in the business for 40, 50 plus years. Email, in person? Do you like Teams? Do you like Zoom? Like all the new collaboration things? What's your favorite way to collaborate with a team?
With the team, you mean at work?
Or personally?
Well, I'm in the real estate business, I'm in sales. So if you can get belly to belly with somebody, just like a speaker gets belly to belly with an audience, that's tremendous. There are clubs. I was in a club. And when COVID happened, they went Zoom, but they never came back. And I just and they've asked me a lot to come. Why don't you come back to our club? Because I'm not doing Zoom. I can do Zoom for a business meeting. I'd rather do a 1 hour Zoom committee thing than drive way over on the other side of town to attend. But I prefer in-person stuff. I prefer belly-to-belly stuff. I prefer to look someone in the eye. I prefer to try a little bit of humor on somebody. And some people, their eyes light up and they start smiling like you. And other people, they don't get it. So, no humor for you.
Paul, what was your last major public speaking gig? What was it? What did you learn from it?
Last major public speaking gig. I'm not looking for big speaking gigs. I used to teach for a long time 3-hour CE class in real estate. I'm teaching a 1-hour, what is it called? It's called Listing Mastery. May 1st. I've spoken to the Women's Council of Realtors a couple times, but I'm just happy. I'm semi-retired, so I'm going to do a little bit of real estate, and I do a little bit of physical fitness, a little bit of reading, and I don't need to, nor do I have any desire to fly around and get a $10,000 retainer and speak to a big group. That really does nothing for me.
Paul, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a new public speaker?
That's an excellent question. That could be the best question. And the answer is always check your zipper before you start speaking. Because if everybody is looking low, there's a zipper problem. So I would say that's the most important.
There's a zipper problem. And we ended where we started, which is with humor, which is perfect. Paul, if people want to connect with you, learn more about real estate or public speaking, what's the best way to reach you?
Google me.
Google you. All right. Got it. Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time. This was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I got a little deeper in the idea of entropy in the public nonprofit space, the idea of taking things personally with the Wizard of Oz and how that's feedback and you get to choose. I learned so much, so I really appreciate those deeper moments of the conversation. But thank you again, and thank you all listeners for tuning in. If you want to hear more, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, we encourage you to speak Arizona.